Hello and welcome to the Creative Academy Blue Pencil Session. This is where we read the first 3 pages of your manuscript, or actually any 3 pages of your manuscript you'd like us to take a peek at. And we offer you comments, suggestions, and our deep thoughts. I'm Eileen Cook. I'm here today with my colleagues, Crystal and Donna. Now, we don't always agree, but we definitely each have an opinion. So today we are taking a peek at a middle grade, Hopagog Hill, The Cup of Fate. And this is by Leanne Tremblay. So I am curious, just jumping right in, what was your overall thoughts and feelings about this piece?
So much fun. That was my overall feeling. It's like, oh, like I was right there. I just, yeah, I loved it. Anyway, I love lots of turns of phrase. My overall feeling is I want more. She hit all the right marks for me.
Agreed. If there's like any kind of fairies or goblins or whatever Welsh little fairy creatures they are, anything that kind of has that mischievous little impy element going on where they're just these strange little characters that are obviously going to cause all manner of trouble, which is lots of fun. I really enjoyed I enjoyed lots of the language elements that were included as well, and it had a really great, like, fast-moving pace. Mm-hmm. Really enjoyed that. So yes, 2 thumbs up.
I'm just putting in my caveat and warning is I've had a chance to read a little bit more of this because Leanne and I are working together on some of these pages. So I'm going to try and make sure that I focus on just these 3 pages because that's the fair thing. What I'm going to say is I just think starting off, what could possibly go wrong on the way to the bathroom is a great place to start middle grade for a couple of reasons. One, because it sets up kind of an interesting question because I think the reader is going to be like, yeah, what could go wrong on the way to the bathroom? And then they're going to think so many things.
We don't have that line, just to be clear. We've started off. So
ours starts with thump, thump, thump. But yes,
But you're correct that is an awesome line.
I really like it.
Different versions, her. All right, yeah. So I'm going to say where I show, which is the chapter 1, which could like a growth, has a great place to sort of start with all of that. But now I'm going to scroll down to thump, thump, thump. Start with you guys. So then we're in the janitor's closet, I'm guessing.
There was
We're right outside. She's doing, or he's doing the pee dance. Okay. They're going, ah.
Yeah.
So other things, specific things that stuck out for you?
Yeah, so there was, and maybe this has already been introduced, and that's why, if this isn't right at the beginning of the chapter, but I was a little bit unclear at first if Miss Carroll was the janitor or not, because there it was again, but it was coming from the janitor's room. Our janitor didn't turn up until the end of the day, so no one should have been in there. Miss Carroll didn't like anyone, even adults, messing with her stuff. So yeah, I wasn't 100% clear until the end. I'm assuming Miss Carroll is the custodian, but yeah, that was just a question that I had.
Other things for you, Donna, things you wanted to highlight?
I did have that second of, is Miss Carroll the teacher or is Miss Carroll the custodian? But then I just made that assumption. I'm really good at assuming, so I made the assumption. And I loved how we get inside this kid's head, although I wasn't sure if it was a boy or a girl, particularly when I did the pee dance. I immediately assumed that it was a girl doing the dance, which is funny.
The other direction.
Isn't that, yeah, so there we go. But I liked all these little snippets into the thought process. They were fun, and it's all, the sentences are fast, they're short, they're moving. Yeah.
And strangely enough,
grader, I love the image of the sobbing first grader in the anyway. Yeah, because I'm a mean mom. No, because it's a good image.
I also think one of the things that, strangely enough, about the pee dance, and again, it's because I have read a larger chunk of this, is the scene actually goes on for quite a while, and the character seems to have lost the urgency to pee. And having done the pee dance myself, I almost would take out a little bit of that, just because otherwise part of me is thinking, aren't you about to blow? Like, you're going to have to do that. I do like that the character's concerned about whether the janitor's trapped in the closet or someone else might be trapped in the closet. That is kind of a little beat of Save the Cat. That is that we see that this is a character who cares about other people. And even though he has some concerns or worries, that's something that he wants to do. So once he opens this closet, of course, then we have this wonderful thing where he is kind of assaulted by this sudden group of little tiny people who are kind of running amok, sitting on the floor polisher, stuffing donuts in their mouth, popping around, that kind of thing. How did the fairies work for you guys?
I really enjoyed them. I had a couple very specific little language things in this section that I highlighted, which are minor, but if we're going to be picky, the rest of the stuff is really well done. So I feel like we might as well just drill right in. There's that transition sentence where the first thing I saw was a tiny little man balancing on his head on a tower of toilet paper, which was just such a great visual. And then there was the sentence, "I'm not kidding." And then it says, "I squeezed my eyes shut to wish away the bad granola bar I must have eaten at recess." The "I'm not kidding," just, that pulled me right out. Like, you don't need to tell us that you're not kidding, because that just creates the perception of an unreliable narrator. And I don't know that that's what you want to do. It has more punch if we're just following along, staying in the kid's head of like, whoa, what am I even looking at? What's happening here? And then, the assumption is, okay, I must have food poisoning or something. I'm hallucinating. This is not happening. And then opens his eyes again, or their eyes again, and sees 3 more little people chasing each other around. So that for me was just something, a tiny little thing that I stuck on, where there's more punch to it if you just don't have that one line. The other thing that kind of literally stuck for me was that they saw me and froze, or I should say we all froze solid. But then we're talking to the audience again in the next little paragraph, take it from me, if this happens to you, stay calm. So we've broken the third wall. And because I don't have all the rest of it, I was really loving the way that we were in his head or her head, but we were just right there along with them. And that speaking directly to the audience, unless that's a thing that is going to be maintained throughout and is going to serve an important purpose, I much preferred it when the self-talk was the kid to the kid, not the kid to the audience. And I think you have room to leave that in there. But also you say we all froze solid and then immediately talk about how the one is eating donuts and talking, and we're right back to moving again. So that was the other little issue I had with that bit, was just to, because it's such a great visual and it's so clear, and we've been brought along so solidly so solidly with it, that when we hit that point, it just, it's sort of like, oops, stop, go, okay, wait, what's just happened here? So
speak in the eye, because I don't agree. I didn't do that for me, Crystal. When you hit that point, it did that for you. I actually love when a writer breaks the third wall and brings me in. I didn't find that it did that for me. So maybe some more opinions on that.
And if it's consistent and on purpose through the whole thing, then that's different than just a little bit in the middle. And we have no context here. So.
Absolutely. And one of the things I highlighted, which I adore, was a fourth one sitting on a big floor polisher gizmo. And I thought, that is exactly what I would call that big floor polisher gizmo. That's what a kid would call it. So I love that you've gotten into that deep point of view with this character. And you're there. You've done it all the way through, but that was just a really great image for me.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I just put in this little section is, I saw 3 more little people chase each other up and down the shelves. Like, even just like they were no more than 6 inches tall or something. Like, I don't really have a sense of how little are the little people. Like, are they a foot tall? Are they just a couple inches tall? That something like that might just give us just a little bit more of that sort of moment. And then again, for me, and again, I think that's just, going back and forth. I wasn't so much bothered by breaking that wall and sort of talking to the audience, but I would 100% agree with Crystal, then always making sure that that is a consistent thing. So then we have the fairies kind of coming along, and they are, he uses the term puffing, So they're sort of like disappearing and then showing up on his shoulder and so forth. And that, I think that is working really well. I also love that they hate being compared to gnomes.
That was really funny.
That there's like a very strong feeling about that. The only thing that this is something just because I happen to know, again, I have some insider knowledge, is that these are Welsh fairies. And I almost am wanting a little bit more information around what, if anything, makes Welsh fairies different than a fairy that I might think of in general. And I'm not sure if that was something that either of you thought about or, made you pause. It's certainly nothing that pulled me out of the story. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be in these first few pages, but at some point I'm going to want to understand, because you're clearly making the choice that they are Welsh fairies. These are not just fairies in general. So what makes them Welsh fairies?
That didn't speak. I'm making an assumption that we're going to be learning about what Welsh fairies are and how they're different from the Disney fairies, which it seems Cam was more familiar with.
Yeah, and well, because they're covered in glitter. I liked that line. Fairies were a girl thing. Again, I think one of the things that I wanted to highlight is I think Carol's done a really good job of getting the middle grade voice. And sometimes people say, well, what is that? And it's one of the things that's kind of hard to kind of pin down when someone says, well, do I have a YA voice or a middle grade voice? This just reads like, I really believe that we were in Cam's point of view and that he is this young man and that this is his experience. And it's light and it's fun. And some of that is the choices of how sentences are broken up. Some of that's choices like words like gizmo. But all of that together combined just makes it feel, for me, very middle grade.
Yeah, and I think Leanne did a really good job of the pronunciations of the Welsh, like breaking that down in a way that makes sense so that you're getting taught how to say those things going forward, and you're getting a clear picture in your mind, but you're learning it alongside the character as opposed to it being explained to you in another way. So yeah, that was really, I had highlighted one sentence that was, Telwa, I didn't understand a thing he just said. I was pretty sure talking to cartoon characters at school was not a good sign. Get a grip, Cam. So it was just a perfect blending of that interior monologue, like the talking to self with the dialogue, with what was going on and some context. And so, yeah, that just, it was very well done and just sort of highlighted how those pieces were blended together really well. Yeah.
And another little piece that comes right after that, I highlighted, and I thought, yeah, this is a great way to give us more about this particular character. It's tell with Teg, said Merklin, speaking slowly and clearly, like you do when you're convincing your dog to drop your lucky socks because you're late and you've got a basketball game after school. I thought that is such a brilliant way to let us know a little bit more about who Cam is. I loved it.
And also because it's funny. This is a piece that's going to really rely on being humorous. And it starts right off the get-go with these great, hysterical images. And it's how Cam sees the world, which I think is just so lovely. I think that works just really, really well.
I want a little kid to read to all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So there's worse comments to be made. That's certainly a good one. So I think, Carol, you're off to a great start with the middle grade. Leanne. Or Carol, if she wants to write a middle grade, I'm open to that too. So you can tell that I have, I'm more focused on the story, people. Stay with me. So I think that Leanne has done a great job with this, and I would be definitely wanting to read more, and I've had a little sneak peek more. And I think the rest of you are going to want to read more too. Mm-hmm. So if anyone else has some pages they would like us to look at and have me get their name wrong, then we can do that. You just have to submit it to the blue pencil. And we would be more than happy to take those looks. So looking forward to seeing all of you around the Academy. Take care.